Welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. Today, we're diving into a fun scenario. Imagine this: you wake up tomorrow, and for some reason, you've been transported to an English-speaking country. You don't know anyone, and you only have 24 hours to survive. No prep. No safety net. Just you, your English, and the world around you.
That's right. And the catch is, you've got to survive using English. From ordering food to asking for directions to making a new friend, you'll need to rely on your English skills. How do you think you'd handle it?
Honestly, it sounds like a pretty exciting challenge. I mean, it's one thing to study English from textbooks, but when you're thrown into the deep end, that's when your skills are really put to the test. You've got to think on your feet.
Exactly. You'd be using English in real-time situations, not just in the classroom. It's a whole different vibe when you have to navigate daily life in a foreign language. Think about the pressure to understand fast speech, deal with accents, and catch all those little cultural nuances.
I think the first thing you'd have to master is greetings. Saying hi is easy, but what about small talk? How do you approach someone when you need help? Do you go for the casual, "How's it going?" or the more formal, "Excuse me, could you assist me?"
Oh, and don't forget about asking for directions. Asking, "Where's the nearest train station?" might sound easy, but the way it's answered could be tricky. Maybe they give you directions in slang or fast speech, and suddenly, you're wondering, wait, what did they say again?
Right? And what if you end up ordering food at a cafe or restaurant? You'd have to know how to read the menu and ask for what you want in a polite way. Are you going to order just a coffee? Or will you know how to ask for a coffee with soy milk and a muffin, too?
And don't forget the importance of understanding different accents. You might end up in London, or maybe somewhere in the South, where the accents can be totally different. Just imagine asking for directions and struggling to catch every word. It's real-world listening practice at its finest.
Then there's the cultural aspect. Maybe you'll stumble upon a social situation where you need to know the etiquette. Do you shake hands, give a high five, or maybe even give a cheek kiss? Getting that social code right is an important part of survival.
Definitely. Social interactions can be the trickiest part, right? In some places, you might need to be more formal, while in others, people might be more laid back. It's about reading the situation and knowing when to use the right phrases or tone. For example, if you're in a pub, you might just start with "a pint of lager, please," but in a formal setting, you'd need something like, "Could I please have a table for two?"
And then, what about dealing with things like public transport? You could be on a bus or train, and you need to ask the driver if it's the right route, or even navigate the ticket system. Do I need to tap my card here? Is this the right bus to take to the museum? These are small details that can really trip you up if you're not prepared for those quick, everyday interactions.
Exactly. It's like an English-speaking country forces you to think in English all the time. You can't just go home and forget about it for the day. You're constantly absorbing, interacting, and adapting to your surroundings. Every new conversation, every sign you read, every menu you scan teaches you something new about the language.
And let's not forget about the inevitable language mistakes you might make along the way. Asking for a coffee and accidentally ordering a coffee with cream when you meant no cream, or saying, "I'm fine," when you were actually feeling lost and frustrated. It might seem embarrassing, but those mistakes are part of the fun, and part of the learning process too.
True. The best part is, people in these countries are usually understanding, especially if you're trying. They'll often switch to simpler language or be patient with you. So, while you're figuring things out, you're also building those connections, even if it's just with a friendly store clerk or fellow traveler.
And think about how much you would learn just in those 24 hours. If you can survive a day in an English-speaking country, you'll feel like a language pro by the end of it. You'll be picking up phrases, slang, and maybe even new cultural practices that you wouldn't get just from books or apps.
It's kind of like a crash course in real-world English. You get to test your vocabulary, practice comprehension, and improve your speaking, all while navigating actual challenges. It's practical learning at its best. And you get the confidence that comes with surviving in that environment.
Exactly, and think about how much you'd improve your listening skills. When you're surrounded by native speakers, you'll be exposed to natural, everyday language. No more textbook English with clear pronunciation and slow speed. You'll hear the slangs, the quick speech, and the way people shorten words or phrases. It's real English in action.
And speaking of slangs, there's another twist to this survival challenge: understanding regional dialects. You might find yourself in Scotland and need to figure out what someone means when they say, "Aye, ye all right," or in the south of England, where a "fancy a cuppa" could be a casual invitation for tea. Even if you're an advanced learner, those little regional differences can be tricky.
That's a perfect example of how learning English isn't just about knowing grammar and vocabulary, but also about becoming familiar with the cultural nuances. Understanding that someone in London might say cheers to mean thank you and someone in Manchester might use ta instead. That's knowledge you can't really get unless you're out there in the world, using the language.
Exactly. And if you're faced with a challenge, like trying to find a place to stay for the night, it might test your ability to negotiate and ask the right questions. How much for the room? Is breakfast included? Can I pay by card? You'd have to quickly make sure your English is clear, concise, and polite. No time for hesitation.
And don't forget the importance of body language. Sometimes, people can communicate so much without speaking. But if you're in an unfamiliar environment and don't quite understand everything, being able to read nonverbal cues, like a friendly smile, or a hand gesture pointing in the right direction, becomes just as crucial as the words themselves.
That's a good point. Nonverbal communication can bridge gaps when words don't quite hit the mark. And it teaches you how to connect with people on a human level. After all, survival isn't just about getting by, it's about thriving in that environment, forming bonds, and becoming comfortable with the language.
Exactly. Even if you only have one day, you can still learn so much. By the end of it, you'll have practiced speaking, listening, reading, and maybe even making a few new friends along the way. It's a great way to show yourself just how much you've absorbed and how adaptable your English skills have become.
And that sense of adaptability is key, right? It's not just about speaking English perfectly, it's about being able to use the language in real situations where you're constantly adjusting to new challenges. Maybe you need to ask someone for help with your luggage, or you need to explain what you want in a crowded market. English in action, like this, teaches you how to be resourceful.
Exactly. It's all about resourcefulness. You might not always have the perfect word or phrase in mind, but you'll learn how to express yourself in the moment. Maybe you can't remember the word for umbrella, but you can describe it as the thing to cover you from rain, and most people will understand. It's all about getting the message across and finding creative ways to communicate.
Right. And I think that's one of the most powerful parts of this challenge. You learn to be fearless with your language. Even if you make mistakes, you realize that the goal isn't perfection. The goal is communication. As long as the message is understood, you've succeeded.
And it's a great reminder that mistakes are part of the journey, not obstacles. If you're trying, you're already winning. Plus, those mistakes are the stepping stones that will make you more confident. The more you speak, the easier it gets to push through those moments of doubt.
Absolutely. By the end of that day, not only will you have learned tons of new words and phrases, but you'll have gained something even more valuable: confidence. Confidence in yourself, in your English skills, and in your ability to handle whatever situation comes your way, whether it's ordering lunch or navigating a new city.
And think about how you'll carry that experience with you after the challenge. You'll walk away from it with a new level of self-assurance in your language ability. And that can fuel you to take on even more challenges. Because if you can survive a day in an English-speaking country, what else can you do with your English?
That's the beauty of language learning. It's a tool for personal growth. It's not just about communicating with others, it's about pushing your own limits and discovering just how far you can go.
Exactly. And each new challenge like this only opens doors to more opportunities to practice. You might find yourself having more spontaneous conversations, whether it's with strangers, friends, or colleagues. The key is that real-world practice can push you to keep improving, even when you're not consciously trying to learn.
That's so true. And after this challenge, you'll start noticing that it becomes easier to engage in conversations outside your comfort zone. What once felt intimidating, like speaking to a shopkeeper or giving directions, will become second nature. And that's the beauty of immersion. Even in just one day, you can go from feeling unsure to feeling more confident in your ability to understand and be understood.
Yeah, and think about how much you'd be able to absorb, just by listening to others too. Sometimes, it's the small phrases or expressions that you pick up by just overhearing conversations or noticing how people interact. All these tiny bits of language are building blocks, and over time, they can really shape how you express yourself.
And let's not forget the cultural insights that come along with the language. You'll learn more about the culture behind the language, which is such an important part of becoming fluent. Understanding why people use certain phrases or why specific slang is used in certain regions gives you a deeper appreciation of the language and its context.
Absolutely. It's like a full package experience, right? You're not just learning words, you're learning about the culture, the people, and how language connects them all. It makes the whole process much richer. And it also makes you feel like you're part of something bigger than just the language itself.
Exactly. Language connects us to the world. It's not just about saying the right thing, but about being able to interact, understand, and relate to people from all walks of life. So, even if you're only in an English-speaking country for a day, it can open your eyes to how far your language skills can take you. And with that kind of experience, you'll be eager to keep going and learning.
I couldn't agree more. It's all about pushing yourself, stepping out of your comfort zone, and embracing the adventure of learning through real experiences. And who knows, maybe one day you'll even look back on that challenge as the moment you realized how much you've grown, both in language and in life.
Well, that's all we've got for today. Remember, learning English is a journey that's full of opportunities for growth, both in language and in yourself. Even small challenges can help you make huge strides, so don't hesitate to push yourself out there and start speaking.
Absolutely. And don't forget that every step you take brings you closer to mastering the language and gaining the confidence you need to face the world. So, whether it's surviving a day in an English-speaking country or simply joining a conversation, keep practicing, stay curious, and embrace every moment of the journey.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you're feeling inspired to take on your own language adventures. Don't forget to subscribe to the British Accent Podcast for more tips, stories, and challenges.
Catch you in the next episode. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, language is the key to connecting with the world. See you soon.